My fiancée said, "I need space. Let's just be friends." I replied, "Sure." Then I removed her name from joint accounts, reclaimed the BMW keys, and canceled our wedding venue. 72 hours later, she was pounding desperately on my door. I, 32-year-old Jackson, am sitting in a quiet apartment for the first time in 5 years. It's strange. Not bad, just quiet. 3 nights ago, my fiancée of 6 months, Miranda, 29, sat me down on the leather sectional we'd picked out for our future married life together. She had that look on her face, the one that's both serious and distant. My stomach dropped. "I think we need to talk," she started. Cliché, I know. She went on for about 15 minutes talking about personal growth, feeling overwhelmed by wedding planning, and needing to find herself before taking such a big step. It was a well-rehearsed speech full of therapy speak and careful phrases designed not to hurt my feelings. The bottom line was delivered with a soft, almost pitying smile. "Maybe we should postpone the wedding. I think we should just be friends for now. I need some space." I've seen this movie before. I've read the Reddit posts where guys get blindsided exactly like this. The classic move here is to get emotional, to plead, to ask what I did wrong, to fight for the relationship. I felt the sting, don't get me wrong. It felt like a punch to the gut, especially with our spring wedding just 7 months away. But looking at her, seeing the rehearsed sincerity, something in me just clicked into place. This wasn't a negotiation, it was a declaration. So I didn't cry, I didn't raise my voice, I just nodded slowly and said, "Okay, if that's what you need." She seemed taken aback. "Oh, well, good. I'm glad you're being so mature about this." She said she'd stay at her friend Cassidy's place for a few days to give us both some breathing room. She packed an overnight bag, gave me a quick, awkward hug, and left. The moment the door clicked shut, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. The hurt was there, a dull ache in my chest, but underneath it was a strange sense of clarity. Friends, she wanted to be friends. Okay. So I decided to treat the situation with the exact logistical reality she had proposed. We were friends now, not engaged partners planning a life together. Our finances, therefore, needed to be completely separated. I'm a methodical person. I like spreadsheets. I opened my laptop and made one. Joint accounts and subscriptions. The big ones were easy. Our wedding savings account had $15,000 in it, money we'd been contributing to equally for 6 months. I transferred my $7,500 back to my personal account. Netflix, Spotify, Premium Family, the meal kit service we both loved, the premium gym membership we'd gotten when we moved in together. I had the master accounts for all of them. I changed the passwords and removed her access. For the meal kit service, I simply canceled it entirely. It was set to renew in 2 days. Anyway, monthly savings, roughly $340. The BMW. This was the significant one. About 18 months ago, when I got promoted to senior analyst, I leased a BMW 340i. The lease is $450 a month, entirely in my name. Insurance, registration, everything, all me. She'd been the primary driver since I work from home 3 days a week and barely use it. It was, for all practical purposes, her car in daily use. But my car legally and financially. A friend does not drive a vehicle that I am legally and financially responsible for. The insurance liability alone would be a nightmare if something happened. I sent her a text. Not angry, just factual. Me. Hey, since we're taking some space and transitioning to friendship, I'm going to need the BMW back. The insurance situation is complicated with a non-household member as the primary driver. Let me know when's good for you to return the keys. I can meet you wherever is convenient. The wedding. We'd put down a $2,000 non-refundable deposit on the venue just 3 weeks ago. Our wedding planner had already started coordinating with vendors. I called the venue coordinator and explained that we were postponing indefinitely due to personal circumstances. The deposit was lost, as expected, but at least we wouldn't be on the hook for the remaining $8,000 balance. I also called our wedding planner and canceled all services. Most vendors hadn't been paid yet, so the financial damage was limited to the venue deposit and the planner's initial consultation fee. Still, watching $20,500 evaporate in phone calls was sobering. The apartment? We live in my apartment. My name is the only one on the lease, which runs through next August. There's no legal entanglement there, which was a relief. I didn't change the locks yet. I figured I'd give her a chance to get her things like a reasonable person. I did all of this calmly over the course of about 2 hours. It wasn't about revenge. It was about accepting the new reality she had created for us. If we are just friends, then this is what being just friends looks like. During this process, I kept thinking about a post I'd seen on Reddit months ago. A guy whose girlfriend had pulled the exact same "let's be friends" routine while keeping all the boyfriend benefits. The comments had been brutal but educational. She wants to keep you as a backup plan while she explores other options. Don't be her emotional and financial safety net while she dates other people. Treat her exactly like what she says she wants to be, a friend. At the time, I'd thought those guys were being cynical. Now, sitting in my apartment methodically untangling our shared life, those words felt prophetic. The text about the BMW was sent about 48 hours ago. She read it. I could see the read receipt, but no reply. The meal kit service would have sent her an email about the cancellation. She would have discovered the Netflix and Spotify passwords didn't work the next time she tried. Our joint wedding account would have sent her a notification about the transfer. It's been radio silence until tonight. There's a knock at the door, not a normal knock. It's fast and sharp, insistent. I know it's her, and based on the sound of it, she's not here to talk about our friendship. I took a deep breath, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. Yep, there she was. She looked frazzled. Her hair was messy and her face was pinched with irritation. I opened the door. "What the hell is your problem?" she started. Not even a hello. I leaned against the door frame. "I'm not sure what you mean, Miranda. My Spotify kicked me out mid-playlist. Netflix won't work and you're demanding the car back. What are you doing?" I kept my voice even. "I'm doing what you asked. You said you wanted space, that you wanted us to be friends. Friends don't share premium accounts or car leases. I'm just adjusting our arrangement to match the relationship status you chose." She stared at me, her mouth slightly open as if I'd just started speaking in a foreign language. "Adjusting our arrangement?" She said it like it was the most ridiculous phrase she'd ever heard. "I said I needed space, not that you should dismantle our entire life together." "I understand it's inconvenient," I said, and I genuinely did. "But the car lease is my financial responsibility and my insurance liability. I can't have someone who doesn't live here as the primary driver. It's a legal and financial issue. You can get your belongings from the apartment whenever you'd like. Just give me some advance notice so I can be here." This is where the entitlement really came out. "My belongings? We live here together, and that's my car. You got it so we'd have reliable transportation." "I leased it while we were engaged and planning a future together," I corrected her gently. "That engagement is now on hold, according to you. This is me treating you like the friend you said you wanted to be." She threw her hands up in the air. "This is ridiculous. This isn't how you treat a friend. This is petty and vindictive. My God, Brett was right about you." Bingo. The name hung in the air. Brett, her work colleague, the one she'd been having after-work drinks with a little too often for the past 2 months. The one whose name had started popping up in her stories about office dynamics with increasing frequency. My gut had been whispering about Brett for weeks, but I'd pushed it down. I trusted her. We were engaged. I must have let a flicker of something show on my face because she immediately tried to backtrack. "That's not what I meant." "Who's Brett, Miranda?" I asked, my voice still quiet. "He's just a colleague from the marketing team. He's been really supportive during this difficult time." "What difficult time? Your decision to postpone our wedding?" I pressed. "You're twisting my words," she snapped. "I just needed some time to think and you go nuclear with all this." She gestured vaguely at me. "You're trying to control the situation just like he said you would." So there it was. This new guy, Brett, had been in her ear, painting me as controlling, probably positioning himself as the understanding alternative. Miranda, wanting the excitement of a new romance without giving up the financial security and stability I provided, had concocted this "let's be friends" plan. She thought she could put me on standby, keep using my car, my accounts, my apartment, while she test drove whatever Brett was offering. The sheer audacity of it was breathtaking. I held out my hand. "The car keys, please." She looked from my hand to my face, her eyes filled with disbelief and growing anger. She actually scoffed. "No, I need it for work tomorrow." "I'll ask you one more time politely. Please give me the keys to my leased vehicle." She crossed her arms. "And what are you going to do if I don't? Call the cops?" That would be a great look for an engaged couple. "We're not engaged anymore, remember? You put that on hold." I didn't even blink. "And yes, if necessary, I would report my leased vehicle as being unlawfully retained. I pulled out my phone, but I didn't dial 911. I opened the BMW app. I located the car. It was parked right down the street. With 3 taps, I remotely locked all doors and activated the alarm system. The car's horn started blaring, a piercing, relentless sound that echoed off the buildings in the quiet evening. The headlights began flashing in sync. Her eyes went wide. "What did you do?" "The car is now locked and the alarm is activated," I said calmly. "It will continue until I deactivate it. The next step would be to contact BMW's security service. The vehicle is registered to me, insured by me, and leased under my name exclusively. So for the last time, the keys." She stared at me, her chest heaving. The car alarm was still wailing down the street, and I could see neighbors starting to look out their windows. A few people had stopped on the sidewalk to stare. Completely defeated and utterly humiliated, she dug into her purse, her movements jerky and angry. She slammed the keys into my palm. I tapped my phone and the alarm stopped. The sudden silence was deafening. "Now," I said, my voice cooler than I felt inside, "you have 48 hours to arrange a time to collect your belongings. After that, I'm having the locks changed for security purposes." She just stared at me with what looked like pure hatred. Without another word, she turned and stormed off down the sidewalk. I watched her go, then closed the door. My hands were shaking slightly, not from fear, but from adrenaline. This wasn't just a relationship ending anymore. This was something else entirely, and I had a feeling it was far from over. Later that night, I posted about the situation on Reddit. I needed to know if I was being reasonable or if I'd gone too far. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Most guys supported my approach completely. "You're not being petty, you're being logical. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. Dude, she's literally trying to keep you as a backup plan while she explores other options. You did exactly what you should have done. The fact that she got so mad about losing benefits she wasn't entitled to tells you everything you need to know about her real intentions." But there were some dissenting voices too. "This seems really cold, man. Maybe she was genuinely confused and needed time to think. You could have handled this with more compassion. She's probably scared about the commitment." The split in reactions was interesting, but the majority clearly supported setting clear boundaries. Several divorced guys chimed in with their own stories of being taken advantage of during breaks in relationships. Their warnings were sobering. My ex pulled the same thing, wanted to take a break but keep living in my house and driving my car while she figured things out with her coworker. Don't be me, man. I let it drag on for months, and it destroyed me financially and emotionally. Reading those comments, I felt more confident in my decision. This wasn't about being cruel. It was about protecting myself from someone who clearly wasn't acting in good faith. The 48-hour deadline came and went. Miranda didn't call, didn't text, didn't even send an email. Radio silence. So, as promised, I called a locksmith and had the locks changed. It cost me $280, but the peace of mind was worth every penny. I also installed a discreet security camera system in my living room with a clear view of the front door. A little voice told me it would be a wise investment. That little voice was absolutely right. The first escalation happened on a Tuesday morning. I got a call from my company's HR director, Margaret, around 9 a.m. Her tone was professional, but serious. "Jackson, we need to schedule a meeting this afternoon. There's been a communication we need to discuss with you." My stomach twisted. "What kind of communication?" "It's better discussed in person. Can you be available at 2 p.m.? Anthony will be joining us as well." Anthony is my direct manager. Having him in an HR meeting was definitely not a good sign. I'd been working toward a promotion for months, a senior analyst position that would come with a $15,000 raise and significantly more responsibility. The timing of this meeting felt ominous. I spent the morning trying to focus on work, but my mind kept racing. What could someone have said about me? I'd always maintained strict professionalism at the office. I rarely even mentioned my personal life to colleagues. I walked into the conference room that afternoon and they were both there, looking serious. Margaret had her laptop open and a manila folder beside it. "Thanks for coming in, Jackson. We received a LinkedIn message yesterday that contains some concerning allegations about your personal conduct. Under company policy, we're required to make you aware and discuss it." She turned her laptop screen toward me. It was a message from a LinkedIn profile I didn't recognize, clearly a burner account with a generic name and stock photo. The message was sent to both Margaret and Anthony. It painted me as emotionally unstable, controlling, and potentially volatile. It claimed I was harassing my ex-fiancée and suggested I might pose a workplace risk due to my concerning behavior patterns and inability to handle personal rejection professionally. My blood ran cold, but I forced myself to stay calm and read the entire message carefully. It was clearly designed to make me look like a liability, exactly the kind of thing that could derail a promotion or worse. Margaret, Anthony, this is deeply concerning and frankly embarrassing, I began. Miranda and I ended our engagement last week. It has not been amicable. This message appears to be retaliation for my decision to separate our finances and reclaim my leased vehicle after she chose to end our relationship. Anthony, who'd been quiet, leaned forward. Margaret, I've managed Jackson for 3 years. He's one of our most level-headed team members. We've had high-pressure client situations and tight deadlines, and I've never seen anything but complete professionalism from him. This message describes someone completely different from the employee I know. I felt a wave of gratitude toward Anthony. His support in that moment was crucial. Margaret nodded thoughtfully. Jackson, do you believe this situation will escalate further? Is there any risk of it affecting your work performance or our workplace environment? No, I said firmly. I've taken steps to completely separate our lives. I believe this was an act of desperation. It will not happen again, and it certainly won't affect my work. My personal life and professional life are completely separate compartments for me. Margaret closed the laptop. All right, we're documenting this incident and your response. Given your work history and Anthony's assessment, we're treating this as a malicious external matter. We don't see grounds for any action at this time, but we wanted full transparency about the situation. The Employee Assistance Program is available if you need support. As I left that meeting, Anthony pulled me aside. For what it's worth, Jackson, this kind of vindictive behavior says everything about her character and nothing about yours. Don't let it get in your head. Your work speaks for itself. I left feeling rattled but relieved. She, or more likely someone acting on her behalf, had tried to attack my livelihood. This wasn't about relationship drama anymore. This was warfare. That night, my new security system earned its cost. At around 10:30 p.m., I got a motion alert on my phone. I opened the app and watched, my heart pounding, as someone tried to use a key on my door. The doorknob turned slowly, stopped when it wouldn't open, then tried again. The timestamp showed it was Miranda. When the key didn't work, she stood there for almost 2 full minutes, just staring at the door like she couldn't believe it. Then she tried the key again, more forcefully this time, before finally leaving. I immediately saved the footage to cloud storage and downloaded a backup copy to my phone. This was the final straw. She had tried to damage my career with false allegations. She'd attempted to enter my home without permission using an old key. This was no longer about being the mature one or taking the high road. This was about protecting myself from someone who was clearly escalating and not acting rationally. I needed something decisive, something that would end this cleanly and expose the truth in a way she couldn't manipulate or spin. And then I remembered her parents. Miranda's parents, Howard and Judith Patterson, are good people. Traditional, practical, no-nonsense types from Michigan. They've always liked me, and I genuinely respect them. When I leased the BMW, they had generously given us $3,000 toward the security deposit as an early engagement gift. It was money given specifically to support our future together as a couple. I hesitated for a long time before making this move. This felt like crossing a line, but she had crossed so many more. The LinkedIn attack on my career was particularly egregious. That could have followed me for years in a small industry where reputation matters everything. I composed a text to Howard, keeping it respectful but direct. Me. Hi Howard, hope you and Judith are doing well. I wanted to reach out because, as you may or may not know, Miranda and I have postponed our wedding and ended our engagement. I'm making arrangements to return the BMW at the end of the lease, and it doesn't feel right for me to keep the $3,000 you both so generously contributed toward it. What's the best way to get that money back to you? I stared at the message for 10 minutes before hitting send. My phone rang less than 5 minutes later. Jackson, what are you talking about? Miranda told us you two were just having some pre-wedding jitters. Give me a call when you can. I took a deep breath and dialed Howard back. The conversation was tense but necessary. I laid everything out calmly and factually. The postponed wedding, the let's be friends conversation, the financial separation, the car situation, the LinkedIn message to my employer, and finally the security footage of her trying to enter my apartment with an old key. "Howard, I can send you the proof of all of this," I offered quietly. There was a long pause. I could hear him talking to Judith in the background, though I couldn't make out the words. "Jackson, Judith and I are driving down tomorrow," he said, his voice strained. "We need to understand what's really happening here. Miranda told us you were just having some normal pre-wedding stress. This sounds like something completely different." "I understand your position completely," I replied. "I'd want to hear both sides too if I were in your shoes." The next day they met me at my apartment. They looked worried and exhausted. Clearly they'd been up most of the night discussing the situation. They were polite but reserved. I could tell they were torn between wanting to believe their daughter and confronting serious accusations about her behavior. "We just want the full story, Jackson," Judith said softly. "Miranda is our daughter, and she's very upset. She says you're overreacting to everything and making her look bad." "I understand completely," I said. "Words can be interpreted different ways. Video footage is harder to argue with." I showed them the security footage on my laptop. I watched their faces as they saw their daughter trying to use a key on my door late at night, then standing there staring when it didn't work. The timestamp was clear, 10:47 p.m. Judith put a hand over her mouth. Howard's face darkened considerably. "I want to believe there's a reasonable explanation for this," Howard said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Then let's ask her," I suggested. I pulled out my phone. "Why don't you call her right now? Put it on speaker. Let's all hear her explanation together." Howard looked at his wife, then nodded grimly. He dialed Miranda's number. "Hi, Dad?" Her voice came through the speaker, sounding bright and cheerful, almost aggressively cheerful. "Miranda," Howard said, his voice flat. "Your mother and I are at Jackson's apartment. He's shown us security footage of you trying to get into his place with a key last night at almost 11 p.m. I need you to explain that to me right now." The silence on her end was immediate and telling. For nearly 10 seconds, nobody said anything. "What? That's not what happened. I was just checking on him. I was worried about him after everything that's been happening," she stammered, panic creeping into her voice. "You were checking on him at 11 p.m. by trying to use a key instead of knocking or calling first?" Howard pressed. "He's twisting everything. He's trying to make me look bad. He stole my car and canceled everything out of spite. He's being completely unreasonable." "Miranda," Judith interjected, "he's offering to pay us back the $3,000 we gave you both for the car, which is something you failed to mention to us, just like you failed to mention that you ended your engagement, not that you were having pre-wedding jitters." Her story completely fell apart over speakerphone. She started crying, then switched to accusations, then deflection. She brought up Brett, tried to justify her actions by saying I was emotionally unavailable and controlling. She contradicted herself multiple times within the same conversation. "Brett helped me realize that I deserve better than someone who would punish me for needing space," she shouted through the phone. "So there is someone else," Howard said quietly. "It's not like that. He's just a friend who's been supportive. Unlike Jackson, who turned vindictive the moment I tried to be honest about my feelings." Howard finally cut her off. "Miranda, we'll discuss this when you get home. Don't go anywhere. We'll be there in 3 hours." He hung up and looked at me with a mixture of anger and deep embarrassment. "Jackson, I apologize," he said simply. "We raised her better than this." 20 minutes later, Miranda arrived at my apartment. When she walked in and saw her parents, her face went completely white. She clearly hadn't expected them to drive down immediately. The final confrontation wasn't a screaming match, it was worse. It was a calm, methodical dismantling of every lie she'd told. Her parents, armed with facts and her own incriminating phone call, quietly took apart her version of events piece by piece. Her lies about staying with Cassidy while thinking things through. Her lies about Brett being just a supportive colleague. Her lies about me being unreasonable when she was the one who'd tried to attack my career and break into my apartment. Every manipulation, every half-truth, every attempt to paint herself as the victim while keeping all the benefits of our relationship. The consequences were swift and decisive. Her parents told her they were ashamed of her dishonesty and manipulation. They demanded she repay the $3,000 herself and immediately cut off the financial support they'd been providing for her car insurance and phone plan. She was told to arrange for moving her belongings within 24 hours without their help. For the first time in her adult life, she was completely on her own. Miranda sat there, completely deflated. The fight was gone from her. She had built her entire strategy on a foundation of lies and manipulation, and now it had all collapsed in front of the people whose opinion mattered most to her. A professional moving service showed up the next day. She waited in their truck while movers quickly and impersonally collected her belongings. She didn't say a word to me. 2 weeks later, I returned the BMW to the dealer and bought a reliable used pickup truck, something I actually needed for the hiking and camping I'd been neglecting. The day the BMW lease officially ended, I transferred $3,000 to Howard and Judith. Howard's response was brief. "We're sorry for everything she put you through. We wish you the best." I blocked Miranda, Brett, and anyone connected to their workplace drama on all social media platforms. I have no idea how their situation played out, and the most liberating feeling in the world is that I genuinely don't care. 3 months later, I got the promotion Anthony had been advocating for. The LinkedIn incident, ironically, had demonstrated my ability to handle crisis situations with professionalism and composure, qualities our clients value highly. Sometimes the worst situations reveal your best qualities to the people who matter. The apartment is quiet now, but it's a different kind of quiet. It's peace. It's the sound of a life built on honesty, boundaries, and self-respect. And that, it turns out, is worth more than any relationship built on anything less.